This is a very emotional and personal day for me. My parents are buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and some kind people like you are putting a wreath on their grave today. Sorry. I spent 25 years in the Navy, but I feel like I can represent the Merchant Marine because I started life, as I was telling the young Coast Guardmen, chipping paint, swabbing decks, and cleaning heads as a seaman. One of the best jobs I ever had. The ocean is unforgiving. I went on to the Merchant Marine Academy, and it was quite an experience. I graduated at the height of the Vietnam Air War, so I went to be a naval aviator. The academy is extraordinary in that it has a battle standard. And honestly, when I was there, I don't think I really appreciated what that meant. What it means is that 142 of the cadets from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy died in combat during World War II, the only federal academy to have that honor. As our kind hostess mentioned earlier, the deaths of the Merchant Marine in World War II were staggering. There were 773 ships of over 1,000 tons that were sunk in the war. That is more than 2 times the size of the entire U.S. Navy fleet today. The chances of being killed as a sailor in World War II were 1 out of 114. For my Marine colleague, it was 1 out of 34. For a merchant mariner, it was 1 out of 25. So in other words, your chances of dying were 4 times higher than if you were in the Navy. These sailors have no grave. They have no place to be honored. They are buried at sea. They are similar to these headstones that the previous speaker mentioned that have no name. They have no name. They have no place. They have no place for the family to grieve. So I would like to mention, I'd like to dedicate this to three individuals. The first is 50 years ago, on the 26th of December, 1969, my classmate, second engineer Ray Reike, and Alex's teammate in the football team was on a ship called the SS Badger State. His wife, his little wife, who was only 22, was 3 months pregnant, sitting at home. She saw a banner go by on the bottom of the news, and the banner said, "The SS Badger State is breaking up in the Pacific." And she thought, oh my God, this can't be true. This can't be my Ray. This is how personal this stuff is. It was true. Ray was carrying munitions from Washington State to Vietnam in a massive Vietnam sea lift. And a 2,000-pound bomb had broken loose and gone through the hull of the ship and tore a gaping hole in it in the midst of a typhoon 1,000 miles east of Midway. And you all know there's a new film out about Midway, and Midway was the battle that changed World War II. God bless him. Ray's ship fought that. No one wanted to come to their rescue. It's an ammunition ship. It could blow up and blow up everybody around them. They tried to launch the remaining lifeboat. Ray did. Ray was a powerful swimmer. Ray gave his life vest to a non-swimming crew member. Ray tried to launch the lifeboat, but the sea was too powerful and tore him away, and he drowned, in spite of the fact that he was a great athlete and a powerful swimmer. So the point of this is that Ray has no grave. Ray served his country. Ray died for his country, but Ray has no grave. 6 months later, on the 20th of June, 1970, his daughter was born. She has no father. It's true. I see these people here are combat veterans. You guys have friends whose children have no fathers. who really have no life, and they have no life of what it would have been like to have a parent. The second person I'd like to mention is my own father, Petty Officer First Class Edward Francis Woods, USNR, signalman, of which he was very proud because he was always on the bridge and he was always in the open. His ship, a merchant ship, he was on the armed guard on one of these merchant ships, was sunk by a German submarine in on the Murmansk-Run in the North Atlantic. And just pick up the news and you can see what the North Atlantic is like. And for whatever reason, he got a lifeboat out and lived. But he never recovered from this. As a child, like you standing here, I thought it was normal for a father to scream all night long. I thought it was normal for him to kill the pain with alcohol. These things that we suffer in these wars go on forever. The third person I'd like to honor is my first cousin, Lieutenant Jimmy Woods. Jimmy Woods was barely 21 years old. He was a P-51 pilot in in World War II. On the 10th of August, 1944, a month and a half before I was born, Jimmy and his wingman took off and took on 4 Me-109s. They shot down 2 of the Me-109s, but a third one came up underneath Jimmy and shot his legs off. Jimmy landed his plane that night, but he bled to death. He is buried in Normandy. There are kind people like you, to this day, 75 years later, this year, looking after his grave. So I want to thank you all for being here on this day. And our other speaker mentioned the history of Seven Pines. It's extraordinary, but it's almost like the sea. There's only 140 of those soldiers who their families know their names. The rest of them are these little blocks. They're just as if they had died at sea. So what I will tell you is everyone is someone's son, husband, father, like Ray and Maureen, his wife, and his daughter Kate. So I want to thank you personally, for my family, and for me, for all that you do. God bless you.